Hi, my name's Charles Evans and welcome back to my studio here in Northumberland. And I'm going to do yet another simple little watercolour painting. First of all, a bit of drawing. Not much. Big hill there. Always remember when I'm doing this kind of thing that I'm actually pressing on a lot harder than you need to press on, with the pencil I mean. Pressing on harder so that you can still see it. There you go, there's another distant hill. And coming across here. And now I'm on a very distant hill over there. And a bit of land coming out there. On there I'm actually going to have a couple of little cottages. There's one. When you're in cottages at that kind of distance, don't fiddle about and mess around with loads of detail. They're a long way off. You don't need to see sash windows and net curtains behind them. It's just a little block. That's another one. Don't you just love it when you can hear the cameraman's breath? Still, you've got to see it close up. A little bit of tree behind there, which will make those stand out in a minute. Want to get some paint on. And here is where the beach bit is going to come out. So that will be water and that will be beach. Bit more land there. Just blocking in where I want the main bits. That's it, drawing done. That's all the drawing done. I'm going to slap a very simple sky wash on now. Don't fiddle about with the sky wash, have it finished while it's still sopping wet. And I'm not being too careful either around near these hills. Actually go into them a little bit. This is my big brush, 1.5 inch flat wash brush. And these are all Cotman brushes. As everyone knows, everything that I use is Winsor & Newton, because to me it's the best quality art materials there are. Cotman brushes, artist quality watercolour paint. Can't go wrong with that stuff. Now, a little bit of ultramarine blue, just ultramarine blue in this guy. But remember, it's going to dry about 50% lighter than when I put it on, so allow for that. Look, fairly strong, actually. Needs to be a little bit stronger. Pop that up there. And coming down just into the hills. Like that. Not like that, just like that. And again, mop up. And for my clouds, don't start fiddling about with kitchen rolls and tissue and stuff like that for taking out the clouds. Wash out the brush, squeeze it out, suck some paint out. And again, suck some more out here. Keep mopping up along the bottom. Have the thing finished while it's still sopping wet. And again, take some more out there. Because I've got such a steep angle on my easel, as I'm taking paint out, it's seeping back in again at the top. Just let it run for a second or two, then reinstate the top of my clouds. There you go. If I want a cloud shadow, as I'm taking out there, pop a bit back down in here. Do a good cloud shadow. And a little bit down here. And wash out, squeeze out, mop it up. Now, the only editing that we do in these films is we just cut the film while a bit's drying. There's no bits that you're ever going to miss. But now, I need to let that dry before I start with my distant hills. Now, my sky's dry enough so I can go straight into the hills. But what I'm going to do is pre-wet the hills first. Very simple process this, but once I get the water on, I need to drop all the colours in very quickly whilst the first pre-wet is still wet. Does that make sense? I know what I mean. Loads of water to start with. I've changed to my 3/4 inch wash brush this time. Again, a Cotman brush, 3/4 inch flat. I'm just wetting up to my pencil line there. And fill in. From there. those trees. And because I've got to paint this fairly quickly, I'm just doing one hill at a time. Starting off with a little bit of yellow ochre from my very clean palette. Bit of that. Plenty of water into this yellow ochre. And this is the only colour I'm going to fill the whole lot in with. The other colours, I'm just going to drop them here and there and let them spread. Fill in. And coming down. Like so. Now, the other colours, starting off with, just mop up there, a little bit of raw umber. Now, raw umber is a really useful brown. It's a good standalone brown, but if I also add a little touch of blue into that, give you a nice sepia. Add a touch of burnt sienna into my sepia mix, and I've got Van Dyke brown. Take my raw umber and burnt sienna together, I've got burnt umber. So I've actually got 4 browns from one tube. Again, mopping up that. Keep the bottom a little bit cleaner. Now, touch of light red, plenty of water into this. Like I say, lots of colours going on, but it's all still good and wet. Don't want too much light red. And a little bit of hooker's green mixed with yellow ochre. A lot of yellow ochre into this mix. Never use hooker's green by itself because it's totally unnatural. But as a mixer, it's fabulous. Wipe up my swatch a bit and drop some of that in there as well. Just a hint of green. Bring it down. Notice all these colours are running into each other, merging, giving me a nice soft effect. Like that. Now finally, a touch of blue, just ultramarine blue. And it always sounds weird putting blue into trees or grasses or hillsides. But it's not going to come out bright blue. All it's going to do is give a little bit more depth into that. Down here, here. But notice I'm starting to build up the shape of the hill with this colour. We need downwards, it's not horizontal or vertical. A bit down the bottom. A bit down there. Now, wash out my brush, squeeze out, and just with a clean damp brush, I'm going to start to merge some of those colours together. Like so. Again, in the shape of the hillside. Shape your land with your brush strokes. Wash out, squeeze out, and mop up there again. Cleaning that bottom bit. Now take a little bit of paint out. On the light side. I want the light to be coming from the left here. So I'm going to take out a little bit of paint on the left hand side of some of those lumps. Clean the lumpy bits. Now, you see how that's giving it a little bit more shape, just with a clean damp brush. Move the paint around. Don't do too much of this though. That's about enough. Now, pick up some of this paint here. Put a bit in there. A bit more yellow ochre actually. Plenty of water into this. Pop that in there. Keep the light to the left all the time. Notice I haven't pre-wet this one. I've got plenty of water into the mix. Just pop it straight on. And then that way it's not going to take over from this one. A bit more water. Carefully up to the wet hill here. And now again, a touch of blue, just ultramarine blue, plenty of water into it. And this blue will kind of like cut that hill further behind this one. Put that in there like so. Very strong at the minute. In fact, I'm thinking to myself, my God, what have I done? Now, clean that brush, move that around. There we go. Carefully up to the wet hill there. Don't want those to bleed into each other. And again, a little bit of shape. You see what a nice effect that gives you. Very, very quickly, not fiddling. Taking out paint here again, get a bit more light onto that left-hand side. And finally for the hills, to the very distant one there, into that blue, I'm going to put a tiny touch of alizarin crimson and a tiny touch of light red. There. A bit more blue. That's better. And just pop that in there. Again, just up to my pencil line. Be careful about this one, which is still good and wet. A bit more water in there. And down to the water line. Now you can see that's just touched, it's bleeding a little bit there. Not a problem, I'll mop it up in a second. Wash out, squeeze out, clean up any bits there. Just with the corner of my brush. You see how much I do with a 3/4 inch brush. It's a very, very versatile brush. And these cotton brushes will stand a lot of hammer, because I really abuse my brushes. And I'm painting probably about 30 pictures a week. And this set that I'm using now is about 7 years old. Mop up, and again, let all that dry before I come into the cottages. Now we're all nice and dry down the bottom of my hills. So I'm going to do the cottages and those little bushy trees around them. But I'm going to change again, this time, to my number 8 round brush. Again, it's a cotton brush. I want, as I keep saying, the light to come from the left. So I'm going to make this side of the cottages quite a bit darker. And I've got my raw umber with a touch of blue, which will give me a nice sepia straight away. There you go. Easy peasy. Plenty of water into there. And with the tip of my round brush, I'm going to fill those in there. Like so. And a little bit on that side of that one. Carefully around the roofs. Now, straight away to a little bit of yellow ochre. Good and strong, the yellow ochre. Keep the light light. There's a little bit of that in there. A little bit in there. And now, a touch of burnt sienna, just by itself. When I say just by itself with any colour, I mean with water, but no other colour added to it. Bit of burnt sienna there. And that's for the roofs. Let's pop those in like so. Red roof on a building, always effective. Bit there, and a little bit on that one. Now what's going to make these buildings really jump out at you are the trees that I'm going to put in behind them. And that is straight to hooker's green and a little bit of burnt sienna. Hooker's green, burnt sienna, fairly strong. There. And just tap on that. If I tap, dab on with the tip of my round brush, rather than getting a sharp edge, it's a little bit spiky. Much more natural for a brush. Put that and a bit round here. I can tell the cameraman had garlic last night. Bit there. And coming around there. Just dabbing. Now again, strange as it may seem, blue into these trees will make all the difference in the world. A little bit of blue. And that's going in mainly, look, where the building meets the tree. They spread it upwards slightly. A bit in there as well. A bit there. Clean damp brush and just move that blue around a little bit. Stippling again. And there we go. Building's done very simply. Look how they jump out at you because of those bushes. Now, back to my 3/4 inch brush, and that bit of land there, I'm just dropping a little bit of yellow ochre all the way across on the top. Look. Now, hooker's green with a touch of burnt sienna, but not as dark as I use for the bushes. Underneath it. Right. And then spread upwards slightly. And I'm keeping that fairly sharp edged down here. For obvious reasons, that's where it's going to meet the water, so it needs to be fairly straight. Now, speaking of the water, this is an odd mix, but it's a really effective mix for water. Because this place is actually a loch, it's not the sea. It's up in Scotland. And for the water, what I'm going to do, I've got a little bit of ultramarine blue, a touch of hooker's green. Gosh, that's too much. More blue. And a touch of burnt sienna. Now, plenty of water into that mix. Don't want it too strong. There we go. And wait till you see this on the paper. There. What a lovely mix that is for water. If I'd used cobalt blue for the sky, this mix would be cobalt blue, hooker's green and burnt sienna. Never change your blues throughout the picture. Not for anything natural anyway. Here and there, as I come up to the headland, I'm going to tap a little bit. So I'm leaving a little bit of white paper showing through. Carefully up to my green, which of course is still wet. I haven't waited for that to dry. Dabbing. And as I come further forward, start to leave a few wobbly white bits showing through. Wobbly white bits, that's a technical term for it. Filling in a bit more now. Carefully up to the bank again now. Now a little bit more water into my mix. And again, squiggling the brush around a little bit. So easy. I've got a bit of a diagonal flow to that light that I'm leaving. As I get closer, add more water to the mix. Like that. I'm just going to let that dry for a second before I actually go in with some darker stuff here and there. Just making sure I haven't got any hard lines shown. There, leave it to dry. Now, everything's kind of dried in the sea. So, still with that big brush, I'm just going to come up with the beach first. And this is a colour called Charles Evans Sand, which is good for painting beaches. It's called sand. It's actually really good as a lightener as well. Putting it into other colours, there it is, will lighten other colours for you without muddying them. Also, it's good for stonework, all kinds of stonework. And it's good for a layering colour, for putting this down and then other colours on top, which is what I'm going to do here. But also flesh tone. Flesh tone is notoriously difficult to mix in watercolours. Sand, a little bit of light red, you've got flesh tone. Easy as that. Starting off that sand, whack it on there like that. Whack, another technical tool. I haven't come quite all the way up to the sea, to the water, sorry. All that there. And this, of course, like all the products, is available on my website, charlesevansart.com. Now, once that's still wet, a little bit of yellow ochre, plenty of water here. And these Winsor & Newton colours, It's heavy artist quality pigment, so you don't need too much paint. Fabulous quality materials these. Now a little bit of light red again, touch of light red, plenty of water into this. Don't want much, but a couple of strokes. One more. Now a little bit of blue, plenty of water into this, and again just a couple of strokes. Wash out, squeeze out. Now just merge those colours together with a clean damp brush. Like so. What a nice colour that is for a bee. Now just with water, clean water, I'm going to take that bit up to that bit. Like so. Keeping it a lot lighter there. I should put some dark on there as well in a minute. Nice and light. Notice I keep squeezing the brush out between my fingers. Don't use cloths and stuff, because a kitchen bowl will suck all the water out of your brush. I just want a damp brush most of the time. One squeeze. Do. Now, back to the scene. Remember that mix I used for the scene? Ultramarine blue, touch of Hooker's green, and a touch of burnt sienna. I'm doing the same mix, but this time making it slightly darker, a little bit more blue into the mix, so that underneath some of those white bits I left, I can go back in a little bit of darker stuff there. Don't want much. I don't need to follow every white bit I've left either. Just get a few, and that will give the water that little bit more movement. Wash out and squeeze out again and just soften through those. See how that just gives it a little bit more life. Now I'm not going to let this dry, I'm going to come to this bit here, which is again a grassy bit, but it's slightly darker because everything's coming further forward from when we had it behind there. So this time, again, Hooker's green and burnt sienna, slightly stronger, a little bit less water into it. Very simple bit this, just block it on. Like so. And on the top bit of that, a bit of flicking, but push the brush in, flick upwards, let's give you some grassy effects. That was a grass brush stroke. Yeah. Now, a little bit of raw umber into my sand. So I've got a little bit down there. And there's a bit more to go in down there yet, but I need that to dry slightly. You know, I was talking to the cameraman a couple of minutes ago, whilst we were waiting for that last bit to dry, and this so far has taken about 10 minutes without the drying times. So you don't have to fiddle about too much with painting. Have it done while it's still wet. Make use of the water, let colours run into each other, like we did in the hills. I'll leave that for a second. Now a little bit of raw umber again, just by itself, with water. And all I'm doing is putting a slightly darker touch way down like so. That's a little bit too strong. See that? So now just pick it up with my brush, bring this further forward. So I've got a darker touch there. Getting wider as it comes out. Again, that's just giving a little bit more texture to the beach. Now, so far, I've painted all this loosely, but fairly carefully, waiting for bits to dry. This is where the careful bit goes, because now I'm going to drop in a little bit of yellow ochre, still with that wood brush, colour there as well, like so. Now, a little bit of raw umber with a touch of blue into it. Bit of that, bit of that. And again, flash them out. Bit down there. And now black. Never use manufactured black. Wherever you put a manufactured black, you're going to kill that area, stone dead. Make your black. And in the colours that I use, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna will give me a nice black. But also alizarin crimson and hooker's green mixed will give me a nice black. But they're not flat and dead like manufactured black. Throw that down there. Going on top of the other colours. And a little bit in there as well. Now, to my, I was going to say credit card, but actually it's the last hotel room I stayed in, key card. Like so. Just scrape off. But you notice I'm leaving a little gap between each scrape. That way, the dark paint gathers in that gap and gives me the shadow without me having to think about it. And there we go, clumping rocks there. And now with the tiny corner of the card, look, scraping, I've got some smaller ones further away. But again, leaving a gap between each scrape. Let that wet paint gather. Now what I want to do, you see I've got a lot of mucky paint down there. Mucky paint. A lot of mucky paint down there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use that in the beach, give the beach a little bit more texture. So going back to my 3/4 inch wash brush, it's a clean damp brush. All I'm doing, picking that paint up, look, and spreading it across into the beach a bit. Give the beach a bit more texture, a bit more movement. So simple. Put it down. Now finally, to finish this one off, I want a little bit of green into the foreground rocks. So again, it's hooker's green and yellow ochre with a lot of yellow. It's just a touch of green here and there. That's going to make sure that these stay further forward as well. Once I put it on, clean damp brush and smooth it in. Now, there we go. The next picture you see is going to be this with the tape off. So just bear with me for a second till I rip off the tape. And there we go, painting finished. And that really did take about 20 minutes to paint. All we did was stop for a few drying times here and there. You don't need to fiddle and faff about too much with watercolours. Keep it simple. Use big brushes, slap on paint, get a bit mucky, but have fun while you're doing it. It's supposed to be about fun. I always use the Winsor & Newton art materials because in my mind they really are the best. I say about my website and the shop on the website, there's lots of free projects on there, so go in and paint with me on the projects page. But there's also books and DVDs and stuff as well. And without doubt my favourite book that I've done over the years is Charlie's Top Tips. There's lots of things in here to show you how to get going with your watercolours. Not particularly that painting, but lots of other paintings. But all the tips and techniques that I used in here are in this book. So until the next time, be nice to see you. Bye bye.